Imagine having what you have been conditioned to believe is your dream life, dream house, dream car, dream marriage. Now imagine having a spiritual awakening and walking away from it all. In today's episode, you're going to meet Rebecca Lemoine, a fearless pharmaceutical executive who had it all and traded it in for a life on the road in an RV with her two dogs, traveling the country. You're also going to see how the power of having just one investment property can change your life. During our conversation, you're going to witness firsthand some of the challenges of road life, specifically Wi-Fi. So it gets a little blurry and a little quirky here and there, but please don't log off. I promise you, we make it through the video. You don't want to miss some of the points that she has to share with you about her journey. You're going to learn about the power of letting go, the power of just having one investment property, and the power of a spiritual awakening. So please make sure you smash that subscribe button. Definitely drop a comment below and let me know that you subscribe so I can personally welcome you to the channel. I reply to every single comment that is ever left on any of my videos. So definitely stay tuned. Okay, so Rebecca, I want to jump right in because we have so much to cover. But first, why don't you do like a quick introduction of yourself and who you are?
Okay. I am Rebecca Lemoine. I pretty much completely changed my life about 2 years ago. So I went from being your colleague, your coworker in the pharmaceutical industry, to kind of figuring out what do I really want with my life, and I changed it all. Went through a really tough divorce, and I left my career in pharmaceuticals, and I bought an RV, which I am now in right now. And I'm traveling the country full time doing my own thing. And I just recently started a podcast.
Yes.
My
So,
podcast. Yes, I know. So yeah,
and
that's
what's
pretty
the name
much
of your
summary.
podcast?
It's called Empowerment and Sunshine.
Mhm.
I am in the process of changing the name, but we'll stick with what it's called right now.
Okay.
So it can be found today. But yeah, I am going to be changing that as things evolve, as I evolve. So it's going to be shifting and changing as I go.
All right, so I want to go back to 2019. That's when we met. We were like cube mates. It felt like cellmates sometimes, like being in the cube form. But I had like a good cellie, like you were like a good cellmate to have. But you were like totally different Rebecca than the Rebecca that I'm like getting to know today. And so I just want to like share with you my impression of you back then. And then I would love to know like sort of when that mindset shift occurred for you and all of these changes happened. So the Rebecca that I remember was like super focused on your career in marketing. As a matter of fact, you had a whole timeline planned out of when you were going to be a district sales manager because that was like the next role that you wanted to take on. You were obviously like super serious about your career, and like that was just, you had a goal, like you had tunnel vision and you were going to achieve it. So that's the Rebecca that I remember. But we also got to know each other on like a personal side. We would talk every morning in the cafe together, and then I got to understand there was a side of you that actually wanted to maybe stretch out more and try some other things, but there were some obstacles there. Like you had your Instagram page and you told me you did not want to post your face. So like you would post quotes and you would post your dog, but like you did not want to get in front of the camera. And so I'm trying to understand the shift between the Rebecca that was super focused in her career in pharmaceuticals and had like the 5-year plan laid out, and also the Rebecca that said she would, never get in front of the camera and do all the things that you're doing now. And so can you just share with us how you made that mindset shift? Like what happened?
Yeah. It's hard to summarize because it was like a slow process. But honestly, what you're talking about when we became close and when we, were cellmates or cubicles right next to each other and we started talking every single day, it was really the beginning of my transformation. So at that time, I was realizing that I wanted more, like deep down inside of me. I was like, I'm putting my heart and soul into this career, And what am I getting back from that? You know, like I'm getting told, yeah, you'll get a promotion one day, maybe. We know you want to be a sales manager, but we're going to just give you this for now and give
Mm.
you a small raise and, you know, just making me feel a little bit better and keeping me in that cell, keeping me in that spot, making sure that they had me on this little like rope, like a carrot in front of my face. And I just realized what was happening and realized I don't want to be this like person that's chasing this carrot. I want to find out, you know, what life is really about, what's inside of me. And we had these deep conversations, you and I started, like you said, I started that Instagram page, Empowerment and Sunshine, and I started to put my feelings out to the world. I started to talk about what was going on inside of me, that I felt like I wasn't using my voice. And, you know, why am I following all the rules for what? What is that getting me? You know, I went to school, I got good grades, I got this good job, and I just feel unfulfilled. I felt stuck. And I'm like, I was just always chasing more and more and more. And it was always about money. You know, how can I make more money? And I knew that's not really what my soul wanted, what my heart wanted. And then my marriage started to get really, really difficult. And I think part of that is because I was evolving, I was changing. A big part of that was that I was starting to grow and realize I deserve to be treated better. I deserve to be the center of my partner's life. And right now, alcohol is the center of his life. So as I started to kind of come into myself, I started to move away from the things that didn't feel like they were serving me anymore. And the first big step was my marriage.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's kind of, to answer your question, that's the beginning of how the mindset started to shift and how I started to come into making those changes. And then when I made the decision to walk away from my husband, that was step one. And then it just all snowballed. And then I just started to change one thing after the next, after the next. And leaving pharmaceuticals was almost as big as leaving my marriage, you know, because I was married to that industry. I
Mhm.
was married to that life goal, to that picture of me being this district sales manager with all these awards and traveling and had all this money. And I just decided, you know, that's not really what I want. That's what I wanted, to make everybody else happy. I wanted to make everyone proud of me. I wanted to be this big success. But what was I really doing to fulfill my soul?
Mhm.
So to answer your question, that's where it started, and it's just snowballed.
Thank you for sharing that, especially about, your personal life. I know that's not like ever easy to share. So I'm curious as to, so just so people know, like you live in an RV, right? Like that's your home base, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And you have two dogs
I
and
do.
you travel the country.
Correct. All of that.
So all of that. So and walk us through what made you want to do that. So like even if you wanted to leave pharma, why not like shift to another career or another industry? Like what made you say, F it, I'm gonna get into my RV with my dogs and like I'm out.
So, actually, my ex-husband and I used to talk about living in a van. We used to talk about doing van life in retirement.
Yeah.
So, you
Okay.
know, he and I both kind of had that desire to travel. But I had it like really deep. Like I didn't want to wait. Like I wanted to get out on the road. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to have new experiences. It just was in my soul. Like, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to do it. So when I kind of released all the ties that I had, like I don't have children, right? So I had a stepson through my marriage, but I didn't have, you know, anything keeping me in New Jersey anymore. If I was done with this marriage and I was done with this pharmaceutical job, I felt like, okay, well, what do I really want? What do
Yeah.
I really want? And all that kept coming to me was travel, you know, get out, meet people, have new experiences. So I just decided it was time. And I said, okay, well, what do I have to do to make that happen? And I did it. I just basically took my clothes and my dog. I only had one dog at the time. And I said, all right, how do I buy an RV? And I said, first things first, I need to financially separate from my husband because I want it to be my RV, not ours.
Mhm.
So even though we didn't get divorced, we got, at that point, we got financially separated, which in New Jersey is a legal document that you separate your finances. And as soon as that was signed and official,
Yeah.
I went and bought the RV on my own, literally the next day. I'm not even kidding. I was like, okay, we're financially separated. I'm going to go buy my RV. And
Can
I
I
did
ask
have to
you a
do a ton of
question along
research,
those lines real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Because for people listening, I know my first question would be, the detachment from things. Like, how were you able,
Hmm.
like, so we're so attached to our house and our
Hmm.
car and our stuff and our things. How were you able to just flip the switch and just detach from all of that stuff that you work so hard
Yeah.
to achieve, by the way?
Yeah. Again, that was kind of slow, I think, too, believe it or not, because before I left my husband, I was looking around at all of our stuff and thinking, like, I don't want any of this. Like, why did I collect all of this stuff? Like, I'm not tied to any of it. And I think something that helped is that we actually had two homes. We had the house that was like my dream home that had an in-ground pool. It had a nice yard. It was like the home I always pictured myself in. And we ended up leaving that house. We rented that out to tenants and we moved into a different home that was closer to both of our jobs.
Okay.
And I loved the second house, but it wasn't that attachment that I had to that first house.
Mm-hmm.
So in the divorce, in our separation, actually, in that financial separation, the only thing I asked for was the house where we had the tenants. I
Okay.
said he can have everything else, all of our stuff, the second home. All I wanted was my dog, my clothes, and that house.
So you still have that house.
So let's fast forward. I kept that house for about a year and a half after, and then I continued to rent it out to tenants. And then as part of the evolution continued to go on, the market was really, really good. And I decided to go ahead and sell that house,
Cashed out.
which then, gave me the opportunity to be even more free because now financially, I have money in the bank and it takes a lot of pressure off of me.
Yeah, I'm sure. So my next question then is around your spirituality because,
Mhm.
and you share this on your podcast, which by the way, guys, definitely go check out her podcast. It's amazing. The short snippet of conversation that we're going to have today is nothing in comparison to all of the things that she shares on her podcast. So please go check it out. But you went from atheist to believing in God. And I know you can't share how that transformation happened like in the next 5 minutes, but like what was the catalyst for that?
Ooh, so that was it all happened at the same time, which was all so crazy because I'm just like, leaving my husband, leaving my job, and then all of a sudden I like started to have things just happen to me that I could not explain, that I just immediately knew it was a higher power. And a lot of this ties in, and again, I do tell this story on my podcast, but a lot of it ties in with the loss of my father-in-law. He passed away shortly after I left my ex, which of course, such a horrible time, for all of us going through a separation and then a major unexpected death. But I think because of that amount of turmoil in my life, the amount of just chaos, and I just couldn't control things that were going on around me, that I just had to like surrender. Sorry, my dog's acting
Is that
crazy
right?
now. But I just got to this point where I knew I had, hey, sorry, of course.
I have the dog mom struggles. I put him in the basement
Come
because
on,
I know he
relax.
would be acting a fool during our
And well,
conversations. So,
someone walks past outside, forget it.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly. Go ahead.
let me go back. So basically there was a few things that occurred that, again, I go into detail in my podcast, but a few things that occurred that I just was like, I can't explain what's happening. These feelings I'm getting, this feeling of total peace and serenity in the middle of chaos. This feeling that everything around me was being orchestrated and that I had zero control. It was the first time in my life that I really felt that. But the way that without my own control, everything was working out exactly as it was supposed to because I felt so peaceful. I felt so comfortable. And I just knew, I just started to thank God. I just started to say thank you and feel gratitude and have no idea what it is. But I just know it's bigger than me
Yeah.
and that I can release control and everything's going to be fine. And I've been that was step one. And then I've been going down this path of developing that spirituality and opening my heart and opening my mind to something that I've, just belief, just having belief and faith. And the more I do that, the more things just fall into place. And now my faith has strengthened so much. And, I pray every day. I'm grateful for
Wow.
this life every day.
Yeah.
I know I'm here for a reason. And I know I'm stepping into my purpose. And
Mm.
it feels like amazing. Like I'm being lit up from the inside. And, it's all having faith in God.
So I have some questions that I'm sure people are curious about like road life. So I want to shift gears a little bit. So my first question to you when we first talked was like, are you safe? Like, what is it like to be a single woman out on the road by herself? I asked you, did you carry a gun? Because I'm just like, I hope you have a gun, Rebecca. So like, talk a little bit about like safety. You're out there as a woman alone. Like, are you comfortable all the time? Or have there ever been any moments where you were like, oh my God, like this isn't right. I got to get out of this situation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is something that I thought about before moving into the RV. Part of the process was, how am I going to make sure that I'm safe? How am I going to make sure that I am protected? And the first thing I did think of was getting a gun. And like, of course, this is a God thing, but it was in perfect alignment that I was already in, before I even left my husband, I was already in the process of getting my license, my gun license in New Jersey, which takes a long time. It's a hard state to get your license in. So I was getting my license as well as a handgun permit. So all that came in like a month after I left my ex. So it was just perfect. I got my license, I bought my gun, and then I went and took some classes because I was afraid of my gun. Like I didn't know what to buy, how to hold it, how to shoot it, how to load it. So
Right.
I went and took classes, and I went to the shooting range several times until I felt like comfortable, like I can grab this thing and shoot it if I need to.
Yeah.
And I did. I got to the point where I was even comfortable carrying it, and I got my concealed carry license, which is good in 37 states.
It's okay. This is good because people can see RV life. You don't always have like the best internet. So you gotta like, how are you finding Wi-Fi? Like, are you just clicking on random Wi-Fi links? Like, do you have your own Wi-Fi? What is
I
going
do.
on?
Yeah, I have my own Wi-Fi. You can like attach it to your RV, and
Okay.
I have a SIM card that like goes into so it's Verizon. But if I'm not in a good Verizon area, I need to rely on either my hotspot on my phone or on the Wi-Fi for wherever I am. And to be
Okay.
honest, it's a struggle, especially because I'm trying to do a podcast with a video. It's been
Yes.
a struggle.
Okay, so where we left off was you got your gun, you took your
Yeah.
lessons, your
Yes,
license to carry in 37 states. She is
correct.
strapped and loaded. So if anybody wants to come and mess with her, she has something for them. So from that perspective, like you're safe, you're good.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
good. And then in that, I also choose places that, I know are protected. I'm
okay,
not
what
pulling
does that
off to the
mean?
side
Choose
of.
places like so they're like camps where RVs can park and you're not like in a Walmart, parking lot, parking on the side. Like walk us through how you map that out.
Yeah, I like to make sure that I have a spot that's been like reserved for me, or like I know I'm good to be there without someone coming up and knocking on my window. And I know that like Walmart parking lots and like Cracker Barrels and things like that, you can park there overnight as an RVer. I
Okay.
don't do that, and I know that that's always like an emergency, like I can if I need to, but I have not. I like to be in a place where I know that I'm allowed to be there. My dogs are going to be fine. I hopefully have Wi-Fi. So, I'm not the type of camper that like just will pull off anywhere on the side of the road and sleep. I have an RV, it's 24
Yeah.
feet long. It's an obvious RV. It says Coleman on the outside of it. Like,
Okay. You know
that there's
what?
a person living in here.
As you're describing it, I'll make sure to like show a picture of like the RV so people can get a
Yeah.
feel for like what it is. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to know. And when you get these parking spaces, do you have to pay for those in advance or are they free?
So usually it's paid for. I try to find the more affordable places. Like I just booked one for this coming weekend that's only $10 a night. but
Oh,
at least I
wow.
know I have it booked. I know I can be there. So like there's places with no hookups that are going to be much more affordable. And but if I want to hook up my electric, my water, my sewer, then I'm probably paying like $50+ a night. So it all just depends on the amenities that I want. And I kind of trade back and forth. And a lot of times I stay with family and friends. Like right now, I'm parked outside my cousin's house and I'm not paying a thing. I'm just parked in her street, you know? So.
Okay, so speaking of hookups, that was like the best segue that you could ever give me. What is dating life like on the road, right?
Oh,
Like,
I didn't think you were going there. That's funny.
like how do you date? Are you, I don't even know a follow-up question to that. Just how are you date? Do
Yeah.
you date? Are you dating? And like just walk us through what that looks like. Because it's
Yeah.
not like you're at home and you're stationary and you meet someone and like you can go out for a date and then in 2 weeks you'll go out for another date. You're usually at a destination for like a specified period of time. So how do you make that work?
Yeah. So I'm actually, it's funny you mentioned this because my next episode is going to be all about this because I do get this question a lot. But so what I've done really the first like year after leaving my ex, I didn't date at all. I was just focusing on me. I was still not even sure if I was going to get back with him. Like I was giving us each a chance to heal, seeing kind of how things were going to develop. So the first year, I didn't even think about dating. And then, the first person that kind of came into my life that I thought, wow, I really like this guy.
Mhm.
I decided, okay, I'll give it a shot. But I mean, this guy lived clear across the country, from where I was. So our relationship, we met in person, but then he went back home. So our relationship really grew over the phone, over texting, over, FaceTime. And, since then I've dated a couple different guys, and that's the same kind of thing where we have to do most of our dating, quote unquote, virtually, which is very different, very new for me. And I've learned that it's not the same as being in person with someone. And I learned that the hard way. But then, so what happens every time is, or the few times that have dove into this pool,
Mhm.
that I have gotten to know them over the phone, and then I make a point to go see them in person. So this means I go to their home, right? We could potentially meet up somewhere, but my thing is I want to get to know who you really are. I want to know your friends. I want to know where you live. So I go to their home, and that's the weirdest thing because it's dating is not the same when you're like, I'm coming to your hometown.
Right.
And then basically, I'm staying in their home because I have my RV, but like, am I really going to stay in my RV in your driveway? No, I'm going to come in and stay in your house. So it's like I'm inserting myself into their life immediately. So it's very strange, but also great because I get everything up front. I'm going to know how you live, what your habits are, what the truth is, not what you're telling me, but what the truth is. And, this is how I found out through those situations what I didn't want. And
Yeah.
and kind of it's been like I think 4 guys total that I've dated, 3 that I have met in person, meaning I've come to their home. And it's that time at the home is when I decide yes or no.
But
And every time it's
are
been
these like
no.
complete strangers? Like you have no reference point for you? You feel safe doing that, Rebecca? I'm
Well, again, it's not like right away. It's after I've talked to them for
right.
a little while, after I've gotten to know them over the phone. And usually there's some kind of common person that introduced us because I don't do
Okay.
dating apps. I don't typically meet, anyone randomly. It's usually through
Yeah.
someone I know.
Okay.
But one of the instances was someone I met randomly. Like I was sitting, I don't drink anymore, but at that time I was sitting at a bar and
Yeah.
he walked in the bar and we caught eyes, so that did happen naturally. And then I went back to my hometown, and it took like 3-4 weeks that I was home. So that whole time we were talking, getting to know each other. And then after about a month, I went back and I stayed with him in his home. But that's when I got the real answers. So for that, like 3-4 weeks, everything's great. I really like this guy so much. And then when I go to their hometown,
Like, no way.
I'm like, never mind. This guy's not for
Wow.
me. So I kind
Well, it
of,
helps you rule
you
them
need that
out
in.
like quicker, sooner, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably diminish that amount of time that you would ordinarily take to date someone, in like if you were in a stationary position in life in like a house,
Yeah.
versus you're going and it's like a crash course in this person in like 3 freaking days. Before we end, because I can't believe we've already been talking for this period of time, but I do want to go back for the people that tune in to me. A lot of them are in careers that they are not happy with, or they're looking to shift into a new career, or they want to start something totally new. You know, maybe they want to start a YouTube channel, or they want to start an online business, or they want to do a podcast. You know, maybe they don't have the desire to like give it all, everything up all the way at once and like do the RV path, which I think is totally admirable. And, you know, I love that about you. Like, I think the Rebecca that I knew then and now, it's like, I just feel like you are this empowerment and sunshine is so representative of like who you are. I think that it takes such a brave person to detach, let go, and then say, I'm going to follow my dreams. I don't think the average person can do that. But what advice would you give for someone who's just looking to try a new path and they're afraid? Like, how do they overcome that fear? How did you overcome that fear?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's pretty much like my main message is to really figure out who you are and what you want. Because for me, it was everything I did and everything I built was based on what everyone else wanted, what the expectations of me I thought were. I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to make my coaches and my bosses and my friends, everyone. I wanted everyone to be like, wow, she's done it.
Yeah.
And that drive is never going to fulfill you. So my recommendation is to sit with yourself as often as you possibly can. And in this life that we lead, where we are busy and we're running from place to place and we have a to-do list a mile long, the hardest thing to do is to sit still. But in order to figure out what you really need, you need that time. You need to journal it out, sit with yourself, meditate, however you can find stillness and quiet your mind enough to where you really feel what's going on inside your body. Are you stressed? Are you sad?
Yeah.
You know, is there things inside of you that you really need to work through? That's when you find out who you truly are and what you really want with your life. And those answers will come to you. And of course, you know, faith is a part of that for me. But, you know, it's really about finding stillness and listening to your heart and your soul and those answers and what you're truly meant to do, that will come forth.
Yeah, I love that. And then, so what's next? Like, where do you go next? How do you map out, you know, your next destination? And where do you see yourself like in even in 2024?
So I have stopped planning like a year out in advance as I first did. When I first moved into the RV, I had my whole year planned out. Now I kind of go like about 2 months at a time. So for me right now, I'm getting a calling to learn more about farming, to learn more about raising animals and growing my own food. So I'm going to stay on some farms. I found a program that I can go and stay on farms in my RV, and they let me stay there for free and teach me everything they know, and I help them on their farms. So I have a few of those lined up for the next few months, and I'm just going to kind of see where that takes me, one day at a time. And I'm going to continue to put my heart and soul into the podcast, because that is how I'm sharing my story and hopefully inspiring other people to live the life of their dreams. So that's going to continue.
Yay. So where can people find you?
So empowerment and sunshine, all spelled out. My website has everything. So if you go to empowermentandsunshine.com, you'll find links to my blog is there. You'll find links to the podcast, links to my Etsy store, which I started, which has all inspirational things like shirts and mugs and journals. But yeah, that's probably the best place to find everything. On Instagram, it's empowerment and sunshine, same on Facebook. So yeah, you can find me if you just search for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing your story. It is so inspiring. And I can't wait to see what's next for you. Maybe you'll come on again, like at the end of 2024 and like tell us about your adventures that you have for the year. Would you be open to that?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. And thank you, because you were a big part of the beginning of all of this, of opening my mind and making me think of life differently. So yeah, your mindset coaching is the best. Thank you so much. You've been a big part of my life.
All right, Rebecca. Good luck. Be safe. And we'll chat soon.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye.